Hello and welcome to my third and final scenario until at least like week 18 probably. So, as you can see here, we have a couple more technically realistic but very unrealistic scenarios like the Colts and the Lions making the playoffs. Everything else is somewhat realistic. It's just the seedings that are different. Jaguars with the one seed is probably not going to happen. Seahawks realistically could get the one seed. So, scenario one, I had the Niners, the one seed. They made the Super Bowl. Rams, I had the one seed in my second scenario, and they made the Super Bowl. So, we're seeing that the one seed is very important, which of course you get a wild card bye. So, the one seed is the one seed for a reason, easiest path. And I have the Ravens making it, the Bills. So realistically, pretty much all the same teams. Seedings are different, and I have the Lions and the Colts this time. The Cowboys also aren't eliminated technically either, but I don't have them making it in this scenario. Ravens, Broncos. I'm going to have the Broncos winning. I just think the Ravens are too inconsistent this year. The Broncos defense is going to eat them alive. Um, Patriots, Bills. I'm going to take the Bills. Patriots have had their number a little bit this season, but the Bills came back. Patriots choked. The Bills are just the more experienced playoff team. Chargers, Colts, the easiest pick so far. If the Colts make the playoffs, then I think they're just an easy wild card exit. Somebody's praying to play the Colts in the playoffs. But ironically, the Texans could realistically get the 7 seed too. And the team playing them will have a completely different mindset because you do not want to see the Texans in the playoffs, even if they're the 7 seed. I had them making the Super Bowl as the 7 seed. Rams, Bucks. The Rams' kryptonite this season has been NFC South teams. Uh, every year there's a team like that who just for some reason loses to a division. Just a specific division is just their kryptonite. I feel like the team, if the Rams get the 5 seed, they're going to have to play the Panthers or the Bucks. So if I was the Rams, I'd actually much rather get the 6 or 7 seed, or you know um 1 seed. I don't know, the 5 seed. We've seen this in the playoffs before. The 5 seed's kind of cursed a little bit. So they don't want to get that seed because they don't want to play an NFC South team. Ironically, the NFC South is probably going to have a winner with 8 or 9 wins. Um, Packers, Eagles. I feel like the Eagles, if we're talking about teams that have had teams' numbers, the Eagles have kind of had the Packers' number for a while now. Eagles have been really inconsistent this year, but I just feel like you know, it's hard to get past matchups. Both teams have lost a lot of key players, but Eagles at home, they just won the Super Bowl. I'm going to trust them to get it done. And then Lions, Bears, the Lions just aren't the same team without Ben Johnson, obviously. That offense is not the same, and the defense also got worse. They lost Aaron Glenn, too, so that makes sense. All the Lions have left is Dan Campbell, and I think if they make the playoffs, much like the Colts, they're a wild card exit. So then we have Bills Chargers, a pretty good matchup. I'm going to take the Chargers at home. If this was in Buffalo, then it's definitely a different story. But Chargers are used to playing in a nice dome, no weather conditions, just nice turf. Bills are the complete opposite. They want to play a team like the Patriots or the Broncos, they want to play in the cold and the mud because they're used to it. Uh, so having to play at SoFi and being as inconsistent as they have been this season, I think it's a bad matchup for the Bills. Um, Broncos, Jaguars, both teams are playing this season, or I mean, what am I talking about? This week on Sunday. So I should have waited to see how that matchup plays out. I think the Broncos are going to win at home. Um, this matchup, though, I'm tempted to take the Jaguars, but I just think the Broncos defense is too good. Um, yes, the Jaguars are at home and it's going to be hot in Florida. The Broncos aren't used to that weather, but unlike the Bills, the Broncos have been consistent. And if we take the Packers game out of equation 100%, I'm taking the Jaguars. But the Broncos have shown that their offense will be explosive if they need to be. And I feel like the Jags, Broncos, both offenses are pretty similar, but the Broncos defense blows the Jaguars defense out of the water. The Jags do have a good defense, but I'm going to trust the Broncos there. Eagles, Bears. I'm going to take the Bears at home. Ben Johnson, I think, is a much better head coach. Offense is much more explosive. Both defenses are really good. But if we want to just talk about explosive offense and the better head coach, I'm going to take the Bears, especially them being at home. And you have to remember why they had such a slow start in the beginning of the season, because Ben Johnson is a new head coach. He has to get used to the offense. He has to get used to play calling. So, of course, you're going to lose a couple games with a new head coach because he's not used to it. But as the season progresses, the head coach is just going to get more and more comfortable with the scheme. So, and then they're going to keep getting better, better, and better. So, or at least that's what you would think. So, in Chicago against the Eagles, yes, they just won the Super Bowl, but I'm going to take the Bears at home. And then Bucks Seahawks, a team the Bucks did beat earlier in the season, but a team that the Bucks don't want to see in the playoffs, especially if they have home field advantage, is the Seahawks. The Bucks at home may be a different story, but much like pretty much every team this season, the Bucks have been very inconsistent. Okay, so we have Broncos Chargers, a good matchup. Both teams. I'm gonna take the more consistent team. Yes, I'm kind of just contradicting myself because Bills Broncos both play in cold weather outside, and that's one of the reasons I took the Chargers to win that game against Buffalo. But I don't know. I just feel like Chargers have been very inconsistent. The Broncos have just been the more consistent team throughout the season. Uh, Playing at SoFi is definitely going to work to the Chargers' advantage, but both teams have really good defenses. The Broncos have just showed that they've had more offense against better teams, and I am really hanging on to that Packers game with dear life right now. That's like the one main reason why I have the Broncos winning these games. But I mean, looking at the Broncos season, they've played a lot of bad teams that they've obviously destroyed. Some games they should have lost, like the Giants game, but I just trust that, yeah, they can beat good teams. They showed they can. They showed they can ball out on offense, and their defense has been the best in the league, maybe only behind the Texans. Bears Seahawks, another interesting one. I'll take Seattle at home. The Bears have nothing to be ashamed of. The Bears, if they make the championship, kind of reminds me of the Commanders last year, but it makes sense. There's always that team that nobody expects to do as good as they did, and then they'll make the divisional or make the championship. I think the Bears are that this year. So if the Bears make the championship and lose to a good Seattle team, they have nothing to be ashamed of. Still a very good season. Hopefully they just don't end up like the Commanders and suck the next season. So then we have Seahawks Broncos. This would be a fun Super Bowl, a rematch of Super Bowl 50, I believe, Super Bowl 40, 49 maybe. Um, so a good rematch of the Super Bowl. I think Seattle won it last time. I'll take the Broncos this time. Just more consistent. The Seahawks should have lost that Rams game. Yeah, you can argue that oh well, they should have lost, but they didn't, and that proves that they can win tough games. But I don't think so. The Seahawks got really lucky in that game against the Rams. I think it's going to take more than luck to beat the Broncos. But this is just why seeding matters so much, because I think the Rams are the much better team than the Broncos. But just matchup wise, both teams have really good defenses. I just think, yeah, I'm just going to hang on to that Packers game for dear life. So I'm going to have the Broncos making the Super Bowl and beating the Seahawks, but this would be a fun Super Bowl to see.